Well, thank you all for coming today. I unbelievably appreciate this, even though up until this morning, didn't really know what to expect. For any of you that followed me around or paid any attention or know me throughout the last couple of years with the campaign, I certainly am never at a loss for words, and I can usually talk for hours and hours and hours. Hopefully that doesn't happen today. I can probably guarantee you it won't, because I really am at a loss for words today. I brought a whole bunch of people with guns because I was seriously intimidated by them. So I'll start by introducing them. The first person I want to introduce is Chief Deputy Joe Pemberton. I had to introduce Joe first because this is the second time that I have spoken outside of campaigning and with my executive staff. And the first time, Joe was last, and I got to Joe. Joe was second to last, and when I got to Joe, I couldn't remember his name. So I had to get him out of the way first, so I'm not stuck at the end. Anyway, one of my assistant sheriffs, I guess I could start. We'll go around the table. It's going to work out perfect. See how crazy this is with me never being at a loss for words and not remembering Joe's name. I couldn't remember the next one, so now I'm talking my way through it. Assistant Sheriff Rob Gunzel. Assistant Sheriff Dennis Greener. That's good. Assistant Sheriff Raul Vergara. Chief Deputy Matt Jimenez. Chief Deputy Finance Director Will Taylor. Chief Deputy Matt Aveling. Chief Deputy Ed Delgado. Chief Deputy Don Sharp. And Chief Deputy Dave Conner. So while you guys are enjoying your lunch, I will go ahead and I'll continue addressing you, and eventually we'll get to questions. I really seriously was at a loss for words of what I was going to say here, what I was going to hopefully get across to you or ask of you, and I'm really not sure yet. So as we continue, I'm sure it'll come out fine. I want to thank the two girls for the song. That really is probably one of my favorite songs ever, and really, I had no idea you were going to be here. Last night, or the night before last, I found, I think 6 or 7 emails from Ann, and probably the same amount from Libby. I've been a little busy in the last couple of months, and finally got caught up with emails and texts, and probably the two most important that I shouldn't have missed leading up to this was Ann and Libby, and I read them all last night and the night before, so I really didn't know what to expect today. So I didn't know the girls were here. That was fantastic. The beauty of that song for me is no matter where I hear it or the different versions of it is, it really means something different every single time depending on where you are. So thank you. You guys have beautiful voices. What I figured that I will do is, since most of you don't know me, and what we're going to do is ask you to pray for me and what we have going on in the future and what we want to do in our community is, I guess, just to give you a little bit of information about me, where I came from, where I plan on going, and where we plan on going with the Sheriff's Department. I'll start with my Christian life, my Christian walk. My testimony is very uneventful and anticlimactic. I grew up in Utah. I grew up in a split home. My mother's side of the family was not split; they were together, split religious. My mother's side of the family was Mormon, and my father's side was Catholic. And they refused to force us into one or the other, so they let us do whatever we wanted. So on Tuesdays I was in catechism, and on Wednesdays I was in primary with all my friends, depending on what we wanted to do for the day or the week. And so I grew up in both churches. Growing up, I really did as a kind of even as a young age, and the beauty of going to both of those churches, realized that either one of them were wrong or both of them were wrong. There were a lot of different parts of the teachings that just didn't match up with each other. So I guess you could say I was maybe a little bit confused growing up. I was a very small town. There's only 1,200 people in my town. I think I was probably around 11 or 12, and an inmate was released from state prison and came back to the town, and he kind of really a whack job. He walked around town talking to himself, staring at the sun. He always had a Bible in his hand. He wore boxing gloves and carried a Bible. He was definitely odd, and everyone was afraid of him. I happened to be with my aunt inside the laundromat at the time, and I kept staring at him. And growing up as a kid, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I really wasn't afraid of anything. I got hurt a lot because I really wasn't afraid of anything. And he kind of intimidated me, kind of didn't. I really wasn't sure how to take him, although everyone said stay away from me because he was dangerous. So of course I walked up and started talking to him. And he gave me a tiny little, I don't even know what they've called, there's a name for them, tiny little Bibles, the little orange ones. And he asked me if I was afraid of him. I said kind of. And he told me that there's no reason to be afraid of him. This is the only thing that I should ever be afraid of. So he gave me the Bible, and I went home, and as a kid, I looked through that and read over it, but I still had the whole Mormon and the Catholic thing going on. Moved to California as an adult, and the first church that we went to was Harvest. Of course, I heard Greg speak, and the first time there, I answered that call, and I realized that was what was missing, was there was something in the middle of those two other religions where it was all about the Bible, and it was about what the Bible says. So I can't say that, that was definitely a night for me, that was definitely a feeling for me, but I've always had God in my heart, and I grew up a good kid. I did normal kid things, but I didn't have anything that was really pulling me away from a good moral upbringing that obviously was from both churches, with morals and how you act and how you treat each other. And I really did grow up with a family, both sides of the family, especially the Mormon religion, with a really, really push to serve. So I definitely grew up with a servant's heart, and I get more joy out of giving of my time, my effort, my money than I do certainly of giving back. Law enforcement was kind of I guess it was a desire, and my desire was a baseball player. I was supposed to be a Major League Baseball player, but that didn't work out. And law enforcement was very appealing to me, and I think it was, looking back, it was a God's call that this is where I end up. It's a way to serve. Surprisingly, growing through law enforcement, whether, I hope you all know it, I hope you all know friends and family that may be in law enforcement, but surprisingly and refreshingly, there are a lot of Christians in law enforcement. And a lot of times they may not be, but really in our line of work, with what we see, what we do, and some events that we may get involved with, I think we're able to bring more law enforcement officers into Christian faith. So it is very common in law enforcement to have the majority of us as being Christians. I ran for election in 2014. And so from 2012 to 2014, but back up just a little bit more about my faith. I can tell you, I never really had that smash moment of what God is and who God is and where God was in my life, because I really feel like I always have it. But I will say that I wish, people say, I heard from God, I heard a voice from God, and I wish I had that. I wish I had, that definite voice where I heard something, and I haven't. I don't know if I feel left out or not, but when my second son was born, he was born 3 months early. Wow. And throughout that entire process, my wife was in the hospital for a month leading up to that, and they were trying to obviously keep her from having a baby and going into labor. And so really for that entire month, they prepared me for death. Wow. They told me that chances are that the baby would not live, and prepared me for what was going to come had the delivery happen. And I really I don't know if I resented them. I don't even remember. I just remember smiling and acknowledging them. And I used to, and I would tell them, I think it's going to be all right. And they really went overboard to prepare me for it not being all right. And so it got to the point where we knew he was going to come now, and there was no stopping it. And he wasn't supposed to breathe. All of the tests said that his lungs were not developed yet. And they were showing me what was going to happen, and really it was my family telling me now later they had all prepared for him not to make it, but I never did. And so when he was born, there were lots of nurses, there were lots of doctors there, and he came out crying.
Praise the Lord.
Very much. It was very shocking at the time, because when he came out crying, all of the nurses, the doctors, it was just dead quiet, and they all stopped moving. And
Praise God.
That was not supposed to happen. His lungs were not developed. And so it was about, probably, I'm guessing, it seemed like about an hour, but it was probably a couple of seconds that it was just quiet, and everyone was staring at the baby, and finally the doctor yelled for the nurse to take him, and so then it went from dead nothing to panic, and they hauled him away. He never went on a ventilator. They had doctors from Loma Linda, San Diego, all around Southern California that came to look at his charts, to look at him, because he was not supposed to be breathing, and he never stopped breathing.
Wow.
He eventually he was a state champion cross country runner. So he definitely doesn't have a lung problem. There were sometimes I wish he would stop talking. But other than that, he was fine. But in that moment, I never ever once, leading up to that, I had a real peace about me that I knew he was going to be okay. And I know that I was being told, God was telling me he was going to be okay, and everything was going to be all right, but I never heard that word. But I know that peace was because of that. So that was a long story, but anyway, that was really I do know there's a God. We can't deny that. In 2014, I ran for sheriff, and I lost. And I will tell you this, I was how could I lose? Because for 2.5 years, I prayed every single day that I was going to win.
Right.
And obviously, I didn't win. And I went through a little bit of punishment after, through losing, and I resented a little bit. And of course, shortly after that, I realized that what we want isn't really what God wants, and our timing isn't really God's timing. And I realized that I was praying for the wrong thing. So eventually, I got put in a situation where I didn't work in our department anymore, even though they paid me, but I had no duties. My wife was diagnosed with cancer. I spent every day, every waking moment, especially at work, on the computer trying to research cancer. We do have a strong faith in God, and obviously she had to have the cancer removed. We went through the surgery, but everything else was a faith-based healing approach to cancer. She had no chemo, she had no radiation, and she was perfectly fine.
Amen.
But during this whole process, we realized that we had both been praying for the wrong thing, and we had been, rather than pray for what we wanted, I really did start praying for just where I was supposed to be and what God wanted and where He wanted me to be. I didn't know if that was going to be work. I didn't know if that was going to be an election. I didn't know where it was, but I was willing to go wherever it was that I was supposed to be. I did not search out this last election. I was not going to run because of the cancer. My wife and I, we decided that I was going to retire, and we were going to move away, and we were going to enjoy whatever time we had left, and just be with each other. And of course, I still kept praying, I'll go wherever you want, I'll go wherever you want. And I was approached to run again. I left it up to my wife. We prayed about it, of course, and I eventually said yes. But the difference in this election and the last election is the entire time I never prayed to win. Not one day did I pray to win. And some of our, even my pastor, Pastor Matt from Sandals Church, he told me that I had to pray to win. And I really didn't want to. I'm stubborn a little bit. I believed I did it all wrong last time, and so this time it was, maybe I'm not supposed to win again. So I'm not going to pray to win. I'm just going to pray that wherever it happens, I'm good with, and wherever it ends up, that's where I end up. Looking back, and there were some times where I was able to tell my wife, but looking back, I can point to so many different doors that were opened and that were closed in the election before. Where as I approached that obstacle, that door just opened and I walked through. I didn't have to fight for it. I didn't have to ask for it. People came to me to support me. I wasn't even asking for their support. Honestly, Anne coming into my life was by accident, showing up at a place where I was speaking, and she happened to be with Lisa. And I'll throw both of them out and say that they weren't supporters of mine originally. Anne was undecided. Lisa's gone back to my good side, but at that time she was. My relationship with Anne was about God opening a door to a place where I was not supposed to speak at, that something happened where they asked me last minute. Anne showed up last minute, and that's how we ended up meeting. And then I find out later that her and Libby, who I adore, the Colliers and their kids, I coach the kids in cross country. They've known each other for years, and how everything came together for me, you cannot deny. I can never deny, and no one else could ever convince me or anybody else that God was not involved in this election. Throughout the campaign, I talked about what I was going to do to make a difference, how I was going to serve to make a difference, and how my heart of public servanthood and what I believe that we should be doing as a sheriff's department was currently wrong and how we should change. I would always mention faith-based organizations, and I would say that I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I believe that the only way that we can really fix what we have, our incarceration. Now, let me get this out there. I'm all about arresting people and putting them in jail. I believe that's the answer to everything, but unfortunately, we don't have enough space, and it's too expensive to house all of our criminals and to keep housing them with recidivism and everything else. So there has to be a different answer, and I'm very, very open to that different answer. And I know that when we release people from jail, more often than not, they're going to come back because they get released into the same environment that they were released in before. And the only way to stop that is a different environment. And that different environment doesn't necessarily have to be a house, but it could be a mentorship program, or it could be a role model, or it could be some type of a leader in their life, or someone to hold them accountable. And obviously, we all know that God can change anyone, and that introduction of God into their lives could be the answer of how we stop them from coming back, or how we stop their family from coming back. Because we, in our line of work, we know that it's passed on through generations that it's acceptable to go to jail because your dad's in jail and all your uncles are in jail, and that's how you get to have family reunions. You get housed in the same facility.